So, with all of that out of the way, I do have a couple movies that I reviewed for you. And at the end, I have a short interview with the actress Emma Littig, trying to get her new short film funded. Let's see if we could help her out. But first, I wanted to talk about Pete Docter. I've been away for a minute, but if there was something that immediately screamed at me as something I need to discuss on the podcast, it would be this Pete Docter interview from the Wall Street Journal. Pete Docter is one of the best filmmakers in the world. I, along with all of you, grew up watching his many masterpieces, from Monsters, Inc. to Up to Inside Out. If I used movies growing up to help make sense of the world around me, Pete Docter probably had a role in that, one way or another. His films echo in my earliest childhood memories, where I was afraid of the dark, afraid that monsters might come out and get me, only to realize that they're just doing their job too. When I watched Up, it helped me to understand loss, which would inevitably impact my life, as I'm sure it has impacted many of yours. When I watched Inside Out, it helped me to understand all of the emotions and hormones rattling around inside my own head. That is why when I read this interview in the Wall Street Journal, I was heartbroken and horrified. In this interview, Pete Docter is asked about the movie Elio. I reviewed Elio and loved it. At the time, I criticized Pixar for not marketing the film better and being afraid to support an independent IP. It turns out that wasn't entirely the case. Elio was supposed to be gay, or at the very least expressed interests that were not typically considered heteromasculine. When asked about why that material was cut from the final product, Pete Docter responded by saying, "We are making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of therapy." I have to tell you, when I first read that quote, I cried. There is simply no way to read that as a gay man raised on his movies and not feel incredibly hurt by this. Let's set aside a fact that Pete Docter doesn't really seem to understand what his movies are to people. And let's just ask some basic questions. So he isn't making therapy. Inside Out is a film about going inside the head of an adolescent girl and personifying her emotions into characters to help better understand them. If your intent isn't to make a film that helps children better understand themselves and their emotions, much the same way the goals of therapy are, then what is your intended goal? Why does acknowledging one's sexuality inherently go to therapy, like it's some mental illness that needs to be dealt with? You mean to tell me that you can show a child the first 15 minutes of Up, where the man's partner dies of cancer, and that isn't too traumatic or controversial to show a child, but showing a boy playing with dolls is a step too far? I have racked my brain trying to justify how a man who has spent his entire life making children's movies that teach of acceptance and love and dignity could stoop to such a hateful low. Movies have always been therapy for me. Yes, they're an escape from the realities of life. No, they don't mirror my exact issues. But what they have done always is teach me empathy. Movies have given me the greatest gift you could possibly give another human, especially in Pete Docter's films, and that's the ability to take a step back and see that the monster under your bed, the angry old man, or the girl in your class you don't understand, are worthy of your time and support and love. How Pete Docter could come to such a place where he says, "We are making movies, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy," is frankly appalling and evil. I don't think I can ever watch another Pixar film ever again. And on that note, let's talk about this weekend's releases.